I believe a lot of us have experienced and witnessed, but we just don't really. A lot of times we don't have a audience or a circle or a person that we can really talk to about what we've just witnessed or experienced on a daily basis. And then, pals, you know that this stuff happens, and it is visible to you when you're awake. And what one of those things is how a narcissist are always trying to push up on you and have a conversation, because this is what gets them entry into who you are, what you're doing, and the intricate details of your life and your lifestyle. This is how they get in and try to enmesh themselves into your life, into your space. It starts with a conversation, but that only helps them initiate what they're going to continue to do to annihilate you. And I know that sounds like a play on words, but it happens in just that very way. They begin to conversate. And a lot of times you will go up and you'll conversate. You'll start a conversation, casual as it may be, not knowing that this is going to end up for your detriment and for their benefit. So they begin the conversation, and this begins a situation for them to go on. And as we know, they love bomb you. They gas you up, have you feeling like you can trust them. And then they begin to diminish you and demean you, which is part of what they call the devalue process. And they're smearing you simultaneously too. And this is a prerequisite before they're about to throw you out like a trash can or a trash bag. So let's talk about that, guys. If anyone here has had these experiences, and for me, I can sense it when I walk into a place of business, say if I'm in a shopping space and I'm just minding my own business, and we tend to, casually strike up a conversation if it has some logic. Like, say if I'm looking at an item and I see that item and there may be a customer there looking at something similar, and I might strike up a small talk conversation because, we're in a good mood sometimes and we just want to share, because to cohabitate in the world, you can't live in a world by yourself in total isolation constantly. I don't think you could survive because God didn't make us that way. But in how you interact and cohabitate, you very well better be on point, because everybody around you is not for you. And so this is that conversation you have when you're in a space, and you'll find a person comes up and out of the blue, they'll start talking randomly about something. And for a moment, awaken now, you give them a few seconds to see where this conversation or these comments or this statement, where is it going? What does it mean? And you find out very quickly as an awake, in tune empath that this person doesn't need a friend. They're trying to initiate a conversation because they're trying to enmesh themselves in your space. And then you start thinking, because your critical thinking kicks in, because I'm always on a swivel and it's just something I can't turn off. I'm always trying to observe a person's motives, and that's very key to your protection. Once you start elevating yourself in this way, because you want people around you that have a very like-minded way of thinking, especially if it's in the good. Hey, Jen, I don't have good glasses on. I'm trying to. Thanks for showing up. Relationship with narcissist is a relationship. Yeah, you're very right about that. We talk about that. We use that verbiage a lot. It's not even a relationship. It's just, I don't know really what it is. It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale that I think as humans, everybody want what we believe or perceive we are working towards with a narcissist. We really do. We believe that. And that's why when we're out of that situation, it is so hard to unlatch, because we have bought into it so long till it's just hard to unimagine it. And so, it's something that you would never have imagined in your life, that you would meet somebody and everything about what you're doing would be so phony and false, because you're not built that way. So you can't conceive that being the case with an individual until you find out it is. And you have to rethink the way you think about life and the world at large. But yeah, these people, they strike up these conversations. And I feel like a lot of people are off work today. And if you're not, just, check the video out or the live when you get a chance. I'd appreciate that. And check some of my videos out, guys. Not an expert here, man, but a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about, man, a lot of people can relate to this. This is nothing that's foreign to anyone. I think if we had a podcast here with probably a panel of 10 people, maybe not even 10 people, 5 people, it would probably run for 24 hours, 7 days a week. You'd have 4 of us over there taking naps, and we'd be taking shifts, and everybody would wake up with it would be so many stories to tell. And so, that'd be like a marathon, telethon or whatever. And so they come in with these conversations and they start just, it's nothing there. It's nothing, no substance there. There's no logic there. It just makes no sense. And like I was talking about, it may happen. I think I disconnected. I don't know. I just saw it on the screen. But even if you're talking about something randomly, it will make some kind of logical sense. It won't with a narcissist. They push up on you, almost scare the hell out of you and sometimes you'll hear a voice behind you talking. They have the audacity to just start a conversation and you're not even included. They are so prideful. They don't even have to get your consent. It's almost like they strong arm you, stick you up with a conversation. And so just the other day, I had a guy, he came, and you can see him coming towards you a lot of times too. This is a big one too. And empaths, we really don't like people like that. I mean, we don't hate people, but we don't like people like that. We really don't. Even in my business where I network and I'm very engaged with my customers, and that's what we call PR, public relations. And I know I have to give off a certain type of persona in order to invite people to take what you have to offer and take a chance on you. But the authenticity of that is what carries you over the hump. You don't want to be misleading when you're offering people a service. You want to be able to do what you say you're going to do. A lot of these contractors who are narcissists, and I've spoke about this, I've come in and they have left these people with unfinished projects at their house. The house torn apart, the landscape is destroyed, and they've taken off with tens of thousands of dollars. And a lot of these contractors are in court, and I see them on my phone in different areas in the Northeast where I live. And they are, but it'll never be enough justice for people who are being done bad by these narcissists and contractors specifically, if the walls could talk. Because a lot of these people that get taken for a ride, they don't want to tell somebody they gave a person $20,000 and they took off. And so, narcs are empty like black holes in the universe, one big nothing. Very true. And I mean, it saddens the spirit to know that we have this type of thing in the world. But it's just supposed to make you, as an individual with empathy, check yourself at the door. You know, you're holding yourself accountable, and you're holding yourself to a standard unlike these individuals. And I think God has allowed this to be the way it is for all of you who believe in spiritual matters. This is a spiritual matter. And that's the only way it really makes sense. And that's the only way it's going to really help you as an individual cope and heal from it. You must just believe that God has your best interest at hand in spite of everything these people took you through. Because you could never, ever strengthen yourself back to self in a healthy way apart from having spiritual reflection, spiritual introspection. Because that brings you back to the center of who you are, I think, and you know, I could be wrong, but it works for me. You know, I serve an active God, and because I serve an active God, it activates what's in me to come out organically as much as possible. You know, I don't have to be standing in a church to really talk about how God is activated in my life on a regular basis. And that's what the world needs to hear. They need to know that God is active in your life, and he activates certain things in your life to where you start paying attention. Like, I'm just a small dot in this big world that God controls. You see people with power and stuff, they're not really in control. They're not in control. And so much so we get it's continual attack. You're correct, Lisa. We really need to disconnect with how we perceive the world. The haves and the have-nots, for one. I see it. We do. We don't like it. It's not what you call right. It's not fair. It's not righteous. But it was that way when the Christ walked the earth. You know, the Pharisees and Sadducees. And he spoke about this, and I like the way the book reads. You know, Christ didn't play favorites. He spoke, man. He said, you know, you sit in choice seats, and you know, the widows and orphans, you put them in certain spots. You sit in the choice seats in the church or the synagogues. And so I know this is a little bit off topic, but, you know, he spoke about the things that were very center to a person's self-worth and existence, as opposed to the things that people did exteriorly or externally to make them, to have them measure up. And so these conversations I'm talking about, these narcissists come up and they talk about a lot of nothing. And as I was talking about the guy coming up, pushing up on me, I could sense him coming up to me before he even came. And you can sense a little bit of hesitancy because they're trying to heat check you. This is what we call temperature checking you. They want to know because they're hesitant because they're just nervous individuals to begin with. Because that nervousness is this a Rottweiler or is this a little poodle? Will he bite my hand or will he let me pet him? Because they've gotten their hand bit before, I'm sure. I believe there's narcissists out here who have met Denzel Washington's in the books of Eli, where they put their hands on the wrong empath, physically and spiritually. You and I, they did that to us. It may have taken longer, but there are some people that have served them up a can of whoop-ass on a paper plate sooner rather than later. But they're relentless. They get served, they get their hands bit, and they continually go on to do this to the next victim. They're on a loop, as people like to say. If you don't understand what that means, that's how it really looks. They don't learn from the error of their ways. You and I, who can kind of introspect and reflect on making decisions in past, present, and going forward. These are the things that helps us grow. The kid in the narcissist is never going to grow up. Toys R Us never, they closed Toys R Us down, and the narcissist still is a Toys R Us kid. This is the only thing that makes sense with them. I mean, to you and I, with them, regarding them. And even though we can speak and talk about it in this respect, it is still hard to wrap your brain around the fact that a grown ass person is running around with childlike behaviors. It's scary too, because we're trusting these adults in capacities such as law enforcement, such as medical industry, such as in the political spaces, voting for them. They're playing the game like Fannie Wilson in Atlanta. And I don't like they drop names, but you know what? Just case in point, looks and whatever else she did to get where she got. And then they caught her. She was trying to get Trump for something. And then all of a sudden, she's sleeping with her colleague. And then when they called her into question, the way that she sat there and tried to just control the courts when she was in the one that was in question here. This was a narcissistic defiance on full display. And that's why a lot of these entertainers, musical entertainers, rappers who I've loved in the past, they have these little podcasts, they're doing these things, personal little ventures, and to have them sit down away from their rap, their mic, and to listen to them speak, it is deplorable. They don't have any substance. And I'm not just talking about not being able to speak in a proper way. That's not what we're talking about, because, who am I to say about speak about etiquetely, proper or whatever. But the substance of what they are and who they are as a human being, I want no part of it. And here I am, we followed them when we were growing up. We listened to them, and they was the hottest rappers on the scene. But if you really want to know the character of people, when they sit down and talk about either personal life or family life, or even just in general, you can learn a lot about that person, the content of their character, when they start talking like they talk. And you have to decide whether you even want to endorse one more thing they're doing, music-wise or whatever. You tune them out, you sound off, you bounce. Empath, we must continue to make these decisions, because what this is going to do is it's going to cause us to distance ourselves from that type of behavior. And it's going to cause us to be very perceptive and observant of it going forward. Because the more we become comfortable around people who push up on us and they start these conversations that have no logic, no rhyme, no reason, they actually are trying to not indoctrinate us. They're trying to initiate us into their cult-like way of thinking. And we're not even talking about opinions here. We're talking about just the conversation that a narcissist tries to have with you, which is a lot of nothing, because they can't remember a conversation that they have with you. When they initiate these conversations where they're trying to insulate themselves in order to eventually annihilate you, they don't remember these initial conversations they have. They just have found something, because they're cutting and pasting when they meet you. They're just trying to find anything that may spark your interest. And it's like they're pulling a slot machine, hoping all the numbers are going to line up and they hit the jackpot. And if you, to the untrained eye, an unawakened empath, or an awakened empath that is not on point, is going to be deceived or misled by that conversation, but staying in tune with yourself and in your space, and you just see this person randomly come up to you. Sometimes, like I say, it may be just a general conversation, but a lot of times it will be a lot of banter of, they're just looking for a seeing eye dog, because they don't know where the hell they're going in life. They're just using you to get by. And And this topic is open to anyone who has a situation where, and family members will do it too. They'll just pop up when they don't even have you on their mind. They don't have you in their life, but they always want something. At the very least, they want the fuel. They want the supply because they need it. They need a shot of, get me by until I can find another victim. And they are a car, a vehicle they're carrying not just fuel in the fuel tank. They need fuel in the trunk and gas cans. They need fuel in the back seat, in the front passenger seat, floorboards. They need gas cans of fuel all over the car. I mean, because they too lazy to stop at a gas pump. I mean, that's a poor metaphor, but you get the point. They're so obsessive. They're so greedy. And I think because this fuel gives, like, a lot of us, like a roller coaster ride, they call it dopamine hits. I think the dopamine hit with a narcissist is so insatiable. Every time they get a hit of that dopamine hit is something that is so new to them. You and I, we can get a dopamine hit off of a roller coaster, and we'll get off of that roller coaster and we can see the fun and that rush we got, but for the sake of not really wanting to keep getting on that same roller coaster, we don't want to do that. We're variety. We don't really want to keep on doing the same old. We want to be, we're continual people. We're continual. We're forward moving people. Narcissists are merry-go-round people. This is why they recycle back to old relationships, old girlfriend, boyfriends, and they scrape the pot. That's all they do. They always scraping the pot. So you and I, we've let past be the past. We wish people well when we see them. They wish you hell when they see you. They'll push up on you, making you think 10 years ago they dumped you, and then they see you doing well. All of a sudden they push up on you in the street. Hey, I haven't seen you in a long time. What you been up to? Not remembering the last conversation they had. They call you a low down dirty dog and some other things. And they forget what they do to the victims that they do it to. Because if you're not awake and in tune, they feel like it's okay to come back and do it again because they're heat checking you. They want to believe that you are tolerable because you're just a decent person. You're going to let bygones be bygones. And when they were with you, you pretty much showed them that you were able to tolerate certain things and just let it roll off until they come back to the awakening path. A lot of times they may. I haven't had that experience with the last narcissist that lived with me that I married. But I want to say, interactions of sorts with some narcissists in the past that I don't know that they're narcissists. I've seen them in places here or there, and you'll see that same situation where they'll start a conversation or they'll reach out, especially if you're with somebody, an entourage, and they just see everybody's vibrating high. They see that energy. They'll come over and interrupt that conversation, and they'll just kind of intrude, saying hello to you, because the persons you're with, they need to distract those people you're with to give them the curiosity of who is that? If that makes sense what I'm saying. They're party crashers. They're party crashers. They are relationship blockers. They are progress blockers. They are family unity breakers. Every time Uncle John come to the barbecue, he starts some stuff. But everybody else, most of the family members, they pass it off on his drinking. But they don't realize Uncle John ain't even started drinking yet, because they've dumbed it down and they've associated his behavior with the drinking, not realizing this Uncle John is a full-blown narcissist. He came to the party to destroy the party. He had a made-up mind when he came there, because when he came there, if his mind wasn't made up, he saw so much harmony, so much laughter, so much camaraderie, until it pissed him off. And so these conversations they pull up to you with, man, they are so illogical. But to you, it doesn't have to be logical. To them, it's logical because it's a purpose behind it. And it's not the purpose that they pretend when they come up on you. That conversation they're having with you, reason why it's not logical, because that conversation is not anything that they're concerned about. Their concern is what that conversation is going to do. Hoodwink you into getting a little further invested with them. So be mindful of the conversations you're having with people, man. If they are not really interested in what is going on within the conversation, every time they open their mouth is what they're talking about, which is totally irrelevant to anything that group is talking about. In some conversations, there are exceptions to that. If you're just having just hearty conversation, but the subject matter will have some connection to whatever you guys are talking about. It won't just go from talking about, I don't know, you could talk about fishing and then you could talk about getting your nails done. But somehow or another, certain things will make a connection. It will be a harmonizing flow, is what I'm talking about. When the narcissists begin to talk about what they're talking about, it will not have a flow. It will not have any rhyme or reason. It will not have any type of feel to it. It'll feel empty. It'll feel vacant, which is the same word, I guess. It'll just feel real dry. It won't have any rhyme or reason. And I guess if you, hey fam, how you doing, Kelvin? There's a Kelvin. Give me a second, guys. I gotta get some better glasses. I apologize. Oh, these are not strong, but all right, I'll stick with these. So I'm having a conversation with you guys about illogical conversations that narcissists try to push up on you with. And they just serve to get them in the door with you. And that's all they need to do. And these conversations, you and I don't remember what they were when we first met that narcissist. If we had to go back and think about, man, how did we meet? We could probably remember where we met, because whatever the conversation was with us was probably something that that had nothing to do with nothing. But they looked us in the eye. They gave us that little feel good, I can trust you, oh, you're a real cool person. And for that moment, that was enough, because a lot of times their conversation opens up a door for you to start conversating. And as soon as you start conversation, what they do, they become very quiet, but seemingly observant. And they are, in the darkest of ways, seeming like they're in tune and interested in what you're saying. Good listeners. Good listeners. That's what you can remember if you had to put your finger on it. They listened to you. And that was probably something you had never had before from somebody. Say this guy you were dating before, he never listened. He never paid you attention. But no, this guy, he sits and he listens attentively. But what you don't realize, he's listening attentively because what he is doing is storing this stuff in his memory. He's actually filtering everything that you're talking about that is important to you. But he's filtering everything that you're saying that he believes he can use as leverage at some point or another in that relationship. How do you notice when you meet a person? How is it that you can truly know? There are certain things that you can know that you may not know about as far as their motives, but you can kind of get an idea if this person is interested in you in a real way, or is it just superficial? That you can know. And this involves you pacing yourself, talking to them, allowing them to talk to you. And this is a clear sign. Once you allow them the floor to start speaking, you'll notice that they'll start a conversation. And keep this word in mind, the flow, the harmonious flow of conversation. God bless you too, Jay. The conversation, and this is key, the conversation won't have a harmonious flow when you allow them to start speaking. They will speak, but their eyes will be everywhere, especially if you're sitting down having a meet and greet at dinner. First time meeting each other, chopping it up, to getting to know each other process. They will, and this could be a girlfriend, this could be girls hanging out, getting together, guys, dudes. They don't have the conversation at the forefront of their mind. The conversation is just a smokescreen. They're looking around as they're talking, and back to say this meet and greet with girl, guy, whatever. They'll start a subject and they won't talk about that subject consistently. If they continue to talk about that subject, they'll talk about that subject for probably, a few seconds, and they'll look for an opportunity to shut that conversation down, especially if you become inquisitive. And this is one last sign in that conversation. They will talk a mile a minute. And I say a mile a minute, they will be almost agreeing with their own conversation. And this is what they're doing. They're trying to reassert your agreement to what they're saying. They're almost indirectly saying to you, believe me what I'm saying. Because in their mind, they're throwing a bunch of false statements. They're lying, especially if they're talking about their ex or something like that. They'll talk about he's not doing this or that for me. They won't look at you. And this is if it's a girl. This has been my experience. They won't look at you. My wife does that all the time. Wow, Jay. When you know, bro. And I feel for you who all are married or involved in a relationship, and you now come to a point where you've had to make some decisions and really think about who you're with. I hope, it's not the obvious situation that we're discussing here. I hope it's some situations that, sometimes people are selfish. They didn't grow up with certain things in place to help them, grow as they should. But we're talking narcissists. Once you're invested with a narcissist, it's not even a stay or go. It's a go, go, go. I don't care how many years you got invested with them. It's a go, go, go. Can't unsee it. The devil in human form, they cause confusion. Yeah. And that's important, Jay. The confusion that they continue to cause, you know what you know. You're vested. Man, that's a hard one, man. You're vested. You know you should go. You know there's no reason to stay, but you stay. And no judgment on anyone, but it is just because this person has already capitalized on what they knew long ago before you ever discovered it. And they were counting on the fact that you would never discover it. And back to this conversation, they will stop inadvertently, say if the waitress comes and they're talking about this conversation, and just when you're thinking you're about to get the beans and the potato of what happened in this relationship, they seem like they're giving it all up. You're sharing, exchanging, and then the waitress comes and says, "Can I take your order?" And I've spoken about this situation because they be looking for somebody to come so they can, they be looking for an off ramp to that conversation. What the hell were they thinking when they met you? Like, you're not going to be inquisitive? And how you're inquisitive is what tells a narcissist whether they if you are ripe for the picking. But they don't have enough sense to say, man, I need to abort mission here. And a lot of times that'll be the last little get together that you get with them because you ask too many questions. And I think that's probably one of the better ways to describe how you should be able to determine whether this person is who they perceive to be. Just be inquisitive. Unlike the narcissist being inquisitive, they're being inquisitive because they know we're going to tell everything. You're inquisitive for the right reasons because you need to know if this person is solid, if they're stable. Are they just throwing the blanket of deception? Are they throwing blame? Are they taking accountability? And there's some good narcissists out there that won't give off any of these detections. They'll say the person did this to them, but it was my fault. I should have known better. It'd be very vague remarks like that, having you think, man, wow, at least they learned something about themselves in this situation. They're not harboring any ill feelings. They don't have any hostilities, because God forbid, I don't need her being hostile. Let her ex coming in a situation with me. I need to have a clean slate. So you're doing this conversation in your head, and none the wiser. This narcissist is one of those who has managed to convince you that they are the one. But those two things I said specifically, how they don't look you in the eye, especially if you casually observing them and you're giving them your undivided attention, you'll see how twitchy they are. They won't look you in the eye continually. And I'm not saying everybody that doesn't look you in the eye hiding something. Some people are just shy. This specific thing you will know. If you've been in a narcissistic relationship before, and this is awakened empath, if you're awakened, this game over anyway. Only thing would trap you in getting involved in this situation again is not paying attention to these things, because there's no way an awakened empath cannot pay attention to these things unless we're just being laxed. That vibration knob has been turned up, and it detects everything. It's like luminol when they spray when they're looking for blood. Awakened empaths are walking luminol. We see things we don't even look for. And so those conversations randomly when they push up on you, man, it is just a means to an end for them. They don't want your company or desire your company. They need you for supply. They need you for that moment. They could have just left the house and the husband say, I'm not giving you the credit card no more. The bill is just too, we got to do something about this. Because the narcissist's wife is spending the money fast as he can make it. So now she done caught mad beef with that situation because it's a boundary. And so she see you in the store, or he sees you in the store, he pushes up thinking, wow, I need to raise my vibration. So I'm going to start a frivolous conversation about nothing. And this is what they do. This is why it won't make any logical sense. And if you're not paying attention, you will, you will join into that conversation, not really observing it for what it is. They're just trying to land on you like a fly to fuel up and fly off. Mental mosquitoes. All they want to do, like they say, succubus, they just want to suck you dry, your energy, your essence, your authenticity, your character. They want to drain everything that's in you like a vampire because it raises their dark vibration, gets them over the hump. Everything they do with people is superficial. Nothing they do is an emotional attachment. They don't even love their own children because they can't love in the way that a human is supposed to love, because something in them is fractured. Something in them is disordered. And it happened at a very young age. So it's very logical for us to believe that something that's hardwired into them is going to be rectified or reversed. After most of their life, they've patterned their behavior in this way that's contrary to logic, sound thinking, mature behavior. Their morale may seem like it's top shelf, but it's bottom of the barrel. I won't even say they're good actors, because if we look on television and these people we've held in high esteem in times past, who are actors on the big screen, again, going back to what I said, when a person sits down and has an interview with someone, a lot of them are still acting when they are on the interview talk shows. But sometimes you'll get a glimpse of these people, of their character. In Awakened Empaths, we know it's undeniable what we see. As Jay just said, we can not unsee these things. And so you gotta start thinking about how we try to bargain with our intuition or what is right in front of us. If we're wired and we pattern our life into talking ourselves out of what we just saw and we know, that is where the growth has to take place. We cannot no longer do this. When we see something and we begin to see it for what it is, then we can do what you call objective and subjective thinking. But you have to have those conversations with your self, which is a part of that critical thinking. It doesn't take long. You just got to have the conversation with yourself. And I guarantee you'll come back with a verdict of, that first thought was the right thought. Glad I thought about it, right? So that was what I wanted to talk about. The conversations that narcissists seemingly like to come up, push up on you with. They like to talk to you about a lot of nonsense, no heads or tails. And you and I, when we're none the wiser, this is how they get in and initiate that conversation, because they know they're going to get what you got and then annihilate you and leave you for dead. And that's the best way to say it. And you may not be physically dead, but you won't feel life in you the way you did before you met them. And you probably was down a little bit bad when you met them, but you probably take that down bad as opposed to being down bad when you met them. You'd rather be back where you were before you met them. No matter what situation you were in, you would take that situation and position 10 out of 10 times, because you wasted a lot of time with these people. You wasted a lot of time. You wasted a lot of energy. And if you had children with them, you know, you don't look at that as being a mistake, because a lot of times your children to you are, you know, they are a blessing. You may even see some of the behavior from that narcissistic parent. But, you know, that is the blessing that you help create in this world. And that part of, and a part of that child is you. And so for that reason, you don't really ever feel like that was a mistake. You know, your judgment going forward is going to be very important, so you don't repeat these things. So it starts with a conversation, man. It starts with a conversation with them. And when we're moving as Awakened Empath, we detect these conversations more than not. So it's hard for them to really even get in. But I wanted to speak about that, guys. So if you don't continually be on guard, they can easily get inside with you with a conversation. And before you know it, they're trying to exchange numbers and they just met you. You know, all the weird stuff. And I mean, this is not even an intimate relationship setting. They want to exchange numbers, emails, and different things, having you believe that this is going to be a business prospect. And you thinking to yourself, if you're thinking logically enough, you don't need another business venture. I mean, you're not out here soliciting people for business investments with you. You got more on your plate than you can handle right now. So for that reason, you need to know how to say, no, I'm not interested at this time. Thank you, though. And they're going to persist now. They're going to persist to invade your space with conversation. Because again, why wouldn't they? They need what you have. They need that energy. Because without you, they don't know where they're going. They don't know when they're supposed to be there. They don't know how long they're supposed to stay. And they don't know how to get back. And that's the best way to say it. All right, guys. I hope you enjoy your day off if you're off today. And just be safe until I speak to you again. Bless.